great compromise within the stimulus package is that a two bill is made one for small markets and small business have their own bill. Now, I'm looking at that. They actually set it up this way so they won't actually have a chance to go against a bill that is greatly giving out tax dollars to corporations versus giving out tax dollars to people, which should have been two separate bills, but sort of like the government drive-by for corporations by choppers with pallets of money raining down on them coming out of the chopper. Whereas the government drive-by for citizens is some asshole cutting you off on the road and being pissed, although they're at fault, throwing loose change at your vehicle in haste. And that's how this bill was put together, in a haste. They haven't even looked or read over the bill, and they already coming to terms, a few of them, that they're in agreement with the bill, and it hasn't even been fleshed out yet. The Democrats' great compromise is to allow it to happen, whether they care or not. They always bending over, and it's going right in the a-hole. The American citizens as they pimp us out. What do you do with the loose change that American government is going to get you? Invest it? If you can, and it's also if you qualify for it. I say if you don't understand what you're doing, just put it into conservative stocks or get yourself a broker. But in this times, I'm pretty sure Wall Street has to stay home also. But I guess their job, only key essential people get to go and do their thing on Wall Street. I guess that's a key essential job. You could go high stake or conservative, your pick, it doesn't matter. Because government will find a way to get this money back one way or another. And I'm pretty sure it's going to come back out of the taxes. They're going to find some way to spread a percentage-wise how much money they gave out, corporate and domestic. And I'm saying domestic in terms of citizens. But corporations can actually spread out the money a whole lot wider, the world markets versus the domestic, us being, well, individuals like us, where we'll do a minute amount of money going to the foreign markets, and it won't hit all aspects of the market. Be prepared for them to actually take this money back. So I would say if you can, invest it into some dividend payout stock or something like that and draw some interest off of it, because they're going to find a way to get the money back one way or another, and that's going to be through the taxes. And any tax-free states such as Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, Wyoming, and also soon to be Tennessee in 2021, they'll just find those taxes in a surplus out of all the other aspects in which they can do taxation within the state, because they have a responsibility to send certain amount of money to the federal government. So that's a part of the tax burden. But if you get rid of income tax, I think there's a possibility of not actually having to worry about certain tax revenues being enforced by the federal government if your state doesn't have income tax. There's got to be some benefit from it. Overall, it's going to be a better benefit for the state to actually have a huger sum of money coming in based on spreading out percentage-wise how they can actually manage which market had a broader amount of people pushing in revenue to it, which will actually get them a surplus of money over what they actually would tax in income versus smaller markets. So expect gas prices to go up a little bit. It's going to be your necessity items that's going to wind up getting a lot more tax on them, because they know that's a guarantee that they're actually wind up getting some money from it. And most of the services that you do pay for, such as your lights, your gas, trash, or anything like that, they're going to find a way to tax that too, and it's going to go straight through that business that's actually providing the service, and they'll just tax them. Incentive to get rid of the income tax, and that'd be individual income tax, because I'm pretty sure they're not giving corporate tax havens, because they do make for profit. But they'll be on a corporation banner, so they can use those corporate tax breaks and tax credits. Whereas individual tax credit would mean that the wealthy person that owns the business will more than likely stay within the state. You increase the number of people actually working within the state. So if you don't have a surplus of people working in your state, you get rid of your income tax to actually try to promote bringing in more people into the state so that they won't have to pay a state income tax. And this helps out business owners as well, because now they can harbor all their money for themselves and lower their tax bracket a little bit better, because they're in a different tax bracket on a certain amount of money that they make. And then also helping the state, this actually help them with the increase of people coming within the state. They might wind up getting more delegates and representation for the state, which will actually make them have more voting power within government. And they'll get more federal aid as well. The way I look at government now, although I still looked at it beforehand as this, but I do have my banner attached to certain political figures as to me supporting them or showing a little bit of support to them is via the vote, but technically the vote doesn't really matter. You just want to see who wins, and according to who wins, that determines how the market will actually shape itself based on that person. People have their assumptions about the person. That's why you will actually see Joe Biden coming back from a major losing campaign. The pharmaceutical market went up, shot up once he came back. Those people in corporate are backing the campaign, giving money to the campaign, and they also have agreements probably already fleshed out. And that's probably through the Obama administration as well. So they think the Obama era is coming back. And then those markets probably got a lot of insider trading and all that stuff going on. So to hide it is also a good way for them to just dump a whole bunch of money into it, because a whole bunch of government officials already being caught selling their stock off and getting insider trading allegations against them or trading off the stock before it took a hit. That works the same way if it's an increase or a surplus to happen. So to hide your malfeasance, you wait for the stimulus package to get passed, and then news comes out about it and people assume it's already in place. Releasing it from the government doesn't really have that much funding to actually go out and investigate these things. They'll just assume over the course of time that insider trading wasn't a thing, or they just wouldn't care, because most of the people that's running everything actually have investments and they want to make sure that they get their money. I mean, we already got a couple billionaires running government right now, and the billionaire in government position trying to work for poor people don't really relate to those people. Hell, they don't even live amongst those people. So how do they represent people that they don't even understand? Or do they actually give any time to, because they are poor? With the UBI that they are actually sending out, it's a small amount of time and a small window to actually gather any data to see if there's any influx or increase in certain markets or sub-markets to determine where that money is actually going. I'm figuring people will be a little bit more responsible if they have responsibilities to pay those things that they need to pay. But with all the misinformation, some may assume, if they go based off assumption, that they are protected just because the federal government gets on the news and say so. It's not a real determining factor that they are actually protected and not paying their rent or anything like that. Corporations can say one thing, but if it's not written in the document where it's actually an aid to the people that owes them money, then they probably going to renege on whatever they're promising, like most campaigns do anyway. Or wait for it to be in writing, wait for it to be a bill, wait for a protection to be put in place so that you can make sure that you're going to be okay. To make those assumptions, which then could be truths once the document is signed, and you got to also look at the bill to make sure what's underneath the bill to see if you actually are doing something that complies under that bill to where you can actually be afforded a credit. So, in looking at that and to get an understanding of how government works, you want to look at the stimulus package. And I mean, even 2008, you can see how government works. They look at the broad aspects of things only in the area in which they actually reside themselves. In their broad aspects of things, it doesn't actually go back down to the lower portion of the economy. So now they're trying to do a small gesture to the lower echelon of the economy, which would be us down at the bottom, and us also that don't make that much income. To see if it meets somewhere in the middle, I suppose, because they do a top down in the corporate capitalist structure of government. And most governments are a little bit of everything. They have some social programs. They have a little bit of democracy. That's probably a fabrication of democracy. Capitalism and totalitarianism. This will also give a good picture of how national security is vulnerable in certain areas too. So you might want to look at defense contracts and all that stuff going on in the IT markets and all those other markets that actually deals with defense or national defense and foreign defense. There's a lot of banks that actually deal around in that area as well as e-commerce and industry commerce, where businesses are buying up supplies and stuff to actually afford some project for their defense and also foreign defense. And a part of that is actually civil unrest. They want to thwart that as much as they possibly can, so to maintain order and see which states are actually taxed more based on that. So that'd be pretty much the taxation of their resources and stuff. How much is it going to cost them and resources to actually maintain and manage the civil unrest that might actually arise from certain aspects of these things that might take place in the future and the current things that are taking place now. Other than this, there are other aspects to take into consideration, but those factors I need to look at and research a little bit more and gather as much information as possible to make my as best educated forecast as I can on what is a possibility to come out of the outcome of this. And then based on that information in these videos, I might actually have to go back and rewatch them to determine if I said this, then this might actually happen. If I said this might actually happen. And it's going to be different scenario building based on that. And that's how you build out a tracked plan of causation, possible resolution, and then all things that should actually fall underneath that umbrella, because it could be multiple plausible resolutions or attempts to resolve an issue. So other than that, I want to bring up the point that this is somewhat of fabrication, this process of keeping people in their homes. What I mean by this is that they have taken a truth and using it as an opportunity to push a bill that hasn't been fleshed out completely, mix it in the civilian population within the corporate population, so as to give themselves a out or voting in favor of something that hasn't actually been written out for them to read, as to where the money will actually return back to government, taxpayer dollars, on the corporate businesses that don't pay taxes. Sounds a bit odd. And all this is happening around the time I'm seeing 4 to 5 million people filing for unemployment right now. That you do get some Democrats that are seen as socialists performing on stage right now, doing their thing, and only have certain amount of qualms with the bill and say it and voice those qualms, but they still vote for it instead of trying to stop the bill, separate the citizen from the corporate interest out of the bill and make two bills one. I'm thinking the citizen bill should be temporary UBI that is given to people for up to 4-6 months, and whenever the quarter comes back in, based on the profits of the corporations. The other bill, give them all their things if they want a bailout, but make sure you take a percentage of all the profits that they're going to be making and put interest on that money that you give them in the trillions of dollars, higher than the 0% that they usually give them. That way, they'll take over the UBI. That'll be a guarantee for the full existence of the United States, and the corporations will fit the bill for that UBI going forward underneath this notion of the profits and the interest margins for that money they need to pay back taxpayer dollar that the government gave them in the bailout. It's like none of them actually care to negotiate terms, even when they have all the opportunity and all the chances and much more time than they would usually have to actually see this through and see it actually come to pass. Because they allegedly quarantined, right? So it's like they're trying to rush to get this done and then rushing to get it done. The moment they sign off on it, I bet this quarantine will be off. They'll lift the quarantine and everything will be right as rain. Give it 1 month. If they should sign off on this without even reading it, 1 month that they did give us a UBI, corporate opportunists will reap greater rewards over the course of time than those that are civilians. It will not fare that well or weather this storm that good. So over time, it's going to be 5 to 6 months before they actually wind up getting their completion of their benefit with the unemployment insurance. And they are filing those unemployment claims right now to a closed government. Yet our government can operate enough to actually pass this stupid bill, but I'm pretty sure everybody's filing for those unemployment things. That unemployment insurance and that office is probably closed. Yet everybody still got to pay for their taxes. If you own your own business, you might not have the money to actually pay the taxes. So you're going to have to get on the payment program, file for an extension. A lot of time is open for it, but guess what? That office is closed. You file for the extension. You say you file for the extension until you actually can procure the currency. But even though you file for the extension, go ahead and file your taxes. Just don't pay it. Do the free one. You might get audited. Who cares? Keep all your documents and then just go to the IRS with your accountant and have them handle everything. Well, that's all I can say for right now. Thanks for watching. I'm out.